Welcome back, everyone, to Breakfast with Bob from the Challenge Championship and the Collins Cup. We're brought to you by Master Spa's Hyperice, Form Smart Swim Goggles, UCAN, HOKA on a Class USA, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest from Team Europe, Mr. Joe Skipper. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. Bob, thanks for having me. Always great to chat to you.
I always enjoy chatting with you, Joe, and I'm looking at these matchups, and you're going against Jackson Laundry from the international team and Justin Metzler. So some big boys.
Yeah. I think this is going to be quite a good race. Like I've raced those two this year already over the half distance, and I think it's going to be close. Like we've each got like individual strengths in there.
Yes.
And I think it will probably come down to the wire in this race. Like I think it's going to be very close between all three of us.
So where did you race these guys?
I raced Justin Metzler in Galveston 70.3.
Yeah.
Jackson Laundry was there as well, and then in Florida 70.3, just Jackson was there and Justin wasn't.
Yeah, and then for yourself, you sixth at Tulsa, third at then you won Ironman UK, and you've won that before, right?
Yeah, second time. I did say I wasn't going to go back after the first, but
it's a brutal race.
It is a brutal race, yeah, but COVID times calls for
racing wherever you can.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got third at Placid. Had you been to Placid before?
No, it was always a bucket list race. Like I'd always wanted to go there, so I wanted to make sure I could do it when they put the pro field up, and I'm really pleased I did, because that was actually one of the first Ironmans I watched on TV. So I'd always wanted to do it, but it was just hard because one year it was an amateur only, and the other year it was
right.
pro.
It's hard to put it in the schedule, not knowing what's going to be.
Yeah, and then when it could fit in this year, I was like, I'm definitely going to do it, because I'd always wanted to go there.
It's a beautiful course.
Yeah, stunning, like one of the best out there.
So talk about Ironman UK, because that's one of the toughest races on the circuit.
Yeah, I personally would say it is the toughest race on the circuit. Like the swim, it's pretty standard, to be honest. 2 laps, lake, not much. But then on the bike, it's just absolutely brutal. Like, I think 2,800 meters of climbing. So for the Americans, about 8,500 to 9,000 feet in the full, 9,000 feet basically.
It's cold usually too,
cold, right? Yeah. Like it absolutely chucked it down on this one, up from about halfway in. People were falling left, right, and centre, and in the run course, there's pretty much no flat on it. You know, it's gradually uphill one way, gradually downhill the other, and then a bit through the town. But what I will say is, it's a brutal course, and the roads aren't great, but the support from the locals is really, really good. Like they do come out even when it's bad weather. I mean, they're so used to bad weather out there.
That's what they live in.
Yeah, it makes no difference for them.
That's very cool. And this course, have you been Challenge Championship before?
Yeah, quite a few years back. But it's a slightly different course what we're racing on than when I was there. But I did it, I think 2017 or 18, something like that. So yeah, quite a few years ago.
You've raced a ton over the years. What do you look at as, you know, was there one race where you realized, okay, I can be really good at this?
Probably when I did my first full distance, because I hadn't really trained for it, and I finished 5th place in it, and I think I ran under 3 hours, and it was kind of a mistake that I actually entered it. And I thought, like that wasn't bad. I mean, that's going back 9 years now, so I was like 23, 24.
Yeah.
And I think I went 8 hours 23, which back then was
fast.
Was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like no one was aware of aerodynamics, been in the wind tunnel and stuff like that. So it was a pretty solid time. I mean, now like people are going under 8 hours for the first time, but back then I think under 8 hours was really, really rare. Like I was the first British athlete to do it, and that wasn't until 2016.
Exactly. And so you've been there through the evolution of the bikes and how fast people are going. How have you changed?
I think it's just going in the wind tunnel, being a lot more aware of your aerodynamics. Like back when I first started, like if you went into the wind tunnel, you'd get an advantage over someone, you know, and you could gain 10, 20 watts, you know, on people, because the competitors just weren't aware of the equipment choices, the position and everything like that. You know, you'd get a TT bike, you'd set it up, does it feel comfortable? All right, yeah, that looks good, right, off you go. And now it's like, right, get a TT bike, go in the wind tunnel, we'll check all our wheels, we'll check helmets, we'll check shoes, you know, literally everything. And you have to do that now just to be on a level with people rather than to get an advantage. Like if you don't do all that, then it's not like you're keeping on an even keel with people, you're behind people. And then if you do it, you're just on a level. It's like you're not even gaining anything now from going into wind tunnel. You're just keeping up with the others.
You're staying up with everybody else.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, when you see, Cam Worth going 4:02 last week, and guys going as fast as they're going, you've got to keep upping the ante, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's always looking towards the next thing as well. So luckily for me, one of my sponsors, Revolver, he's makes custom parts for the bike. So
yes.
He's always trying to make new custom parts so we can get more aerodynamic on the bike and put the hydration and nutrition in positions where you don't lose any watts and all that kind of thing. And it's just a constant battle to try and find new ideas where you can try and get an edge on your competitors.
Well, and the thing that's amazed me the most is it used to be if you really pushed hard on the bike, you paid for it in the run. But people are running fast as well.
Yeah.
They're getting off the bike and people are running in the 240s and the 230s like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, and that's another part of it. Yeah, like you say, people are running faster now. I think before people were, Ironman is obviously quite a new sport anyway, but people were a bit worried about pushing too hard on the bike because they won't run. But then I think Keenly and a few others changed that, where they'd push the bike hard to get a gap, and then you didn't have to run that well. Back then, I mean, it was probably right, but you could run 250 and you could win it by quite a bit, and no one was really running 240, and then they were winning it on the bike, and then other people probably thought, well, if he's winning it on the bike, I'm going to do it. And then they do it, and then because they get off the bike with someone else, you've then got to outrun them, and then the run starts getting quicker, but they're still pushing the bike just as hard. And it's just completely changing the game all the time. People are just racing it hard from the start, and then there's also the tactics in it as well, where you're putting in surges trying to drop people. It's not like a flat line power, which some people think. Sometimes you're riding 450 watts, 500 watts. Maybe even harder on drags to try and get rid of people, and then you're settling back into your Ironman power and still trying to run well off it. So it's quite tactical, and people are just racing it flat out from the start now.
It is crazy. So for you, how have you changed as an athlete? Not so much just the equipment, but have you had to refine the way you train, maybe not do as many miles, do more indoor miles? What are you doing now that's different from before?
Well, mainly it's consistency. It's just backing it up year on year, and also you always learn something when you do a full distance, what you think you could have done better or what you think you could have done worse. And it's just little refinements, I've changed my training from when I first started, but it's probably putting a bit more volume in than what I did do. But I mean, it's nothing drastic. I think the main thing is just literally being consistent, trying to be injury free, and eating a healthy diet so you can train hard as well. A lot of people think because you're training loads, you can eat really anything you want, but if you eat anything you want, you just can't recover and you just get injured. So it's just training and being a professional, really.
And do you use a physio and things like that as well?
Yeah, so I was getting massage before I went away. Once a week, a guy was coming to the house and doing that. Physio, I probably don't see as much as I should do, but I do get massage, and I use one of them massage guns as well.
Theragun type of thing. Yeah,
that kind of thing. Put the Normatex on, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
But a bit of stretching, but probably not as much as I should do. But I try and do it when I can.
Good for you, man. So with Kona not happening until February, if at all, how are you? What are you looking at for the rest of the season?
So I'm going to race Ironman Switzerland next week. I put a last minute entry into that. I thought since I'm here, and obviously with Kona not happening like you say, and then you've just got to pick races when they come, and I could wait until middle of October for Mallorca or California, but potentially they could get cancelled.
You never know.
You never know, do you? So I'm kind of just taking, with a few more months left of this year, just taking my chances when they can. So I'll do Switzerland. Play that by ear, afterwards, see how the race goes, see how I feel, and I would like to finish the race with one last race if I could, potentially Chattanooga. It looks like it's a downhill swim on that.
Yes.
Would suit me. I saw Sam Long's racing. There'll probably be a load of others racing as well. Pretty strong field, but longer bike, easy swim. I'm in. Yeah,
well, and also that is a qualifier for next year's Kona, right? So for 2022.
Yeah, but will Kona 2022 be this year though? I've been waiting for Kona 2020 for 2 years now, so who knows? Yeah, it might be qualified for this year, next year, whatever. But it looks to be a good race anyway.
I love it. You're pretty excited about Team Europe?
Yeah, I am. And to be honest, a lot of the matches look really exciting, and it almost feels like, in a way, I'd love to be watching it and see how some of them unfold. Like, for me, I like the look of like Keenly, Sanders, and Starkovic,
I feel the same way,
because I know that none of them want to lose to each other, and they will go to the death to beat each other. Jan Frodeno versus Sam Long as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one unfolds. Number 8, and then there's loads of the women's races. I'm looking forward to seeing how the US girls,
how Katie Zafaris, and Taylor Knibb,
how they stack up against the Europeans. Because I think potentially if the US girls, the ITU girls, beat some of our top Europe girls, then it completely changes
changes everything,
the dynamic, and it really does put Europe on the back foot from the start. So could be exciting, and the way they've been racing, they're flying. So I think there's going to be some really exciting matchups there.
Love it, Sam. Always Sam. Joey, always a pleasure to catch you, man. I appreciate you taking
Cheers,
time.
mate. Thanks very much.
All right, Joe Skipper has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob, Challenge Championship, and Collins Cup. Hold on. We'll be right back.